Welcome back to the Freemouse MC YouTube channel, and look what arrived today from Royal Enfield, the new Royal Enfield Bear 650. And what a beautiful motorcycle, inspired by the Big Bear run in 1960, where a guy named Eddie Mueller won the last event that ever happened of that Big Bear run in California, and he won it on a Royal Enfield. And that's how they got the inspiration for their Scrambler bike that they now have on the market. It has the same base as the Interceptor, which is really interesting to me because the Interceptor is a bike that I own and that I ride quite a lot. So same frame, same engine, a bit of a different mapping and a different set of suspension, and also a bit of a different angle here in the setup and different wheel sizes. I am really curious how this is going to handle, and at the first look of the bike, I have to say the design, this is now the 249 colorway, which is also the starting number of Eddie Mueller, is really, really beautiful. It's kind of a one-of-a-kind color choice with the white and the turquoise. I think Ducati once made a silver turquoise like classic bike. That's the only thing I can think of that's like close to it, but like what a beautiful bike from looking at it. And also I really love this integrated like number here that's integrated into the normal cover of the Interceptor. And we have something new for the Royal Enfield models: a 2-in-1 exhaust on the side, which I think is really cool, and I'm curious how this whole package all in all is going to handle. I'm going to test the bike, going to do some tours with it, but for now I have not ridden it like at all. It just arrived. I don't have an impression of it yet, so let's take this thing onto the road and get going. So we're now here with the Royal Enfield Bear 650 on my local little testing route, and it's quite a surreal phenomenon because this bike is really similar to the Interceptor. However, the handling is now finally like on a modern bike. Like the show suspension is really showing that it's working well. It's working well here on the street. The bike for some reason doesn't require a lot of lean angle to get it around the bends, but it's definitely fun. And the seat gives you some nice support, and the seat is pretty hard. However, it's comfortable. It's comfortable, and that's really important and nice. The Bear 650 is supposed to have a little bit more torque than the Interceptor and the other 650 bikes. So let's try that out. And 3, 2, 1, go! I don't really think that the difference can be felt. However, I earlier felt it on the highway of how quick the bike gets up to speed above 100 kilometers an hour. The handlebars are a bit of a weird in between, but I like them. They're not really raised. At the same time, they feel a bit lower at the same time. It's a bit weird. They're really wide though. They're wide, and I like that. I really like that. They're a bit more higher in the middle, I think, and then they kind of slope down, even though that's not really visible from just looking at the bike. But it's a really good feel, and damn is the bike fun here on the twisty road. I think the better feel on the side of the tire, and also the better comfort, also comes a lot from the suspension, with it having a bit more travel in the suspension, which is weird, you know, because it's supposed to be a Scrambler and off-road capable, and the suspension measurements of how much travel it has really remind me of my first motorcycle, which had a little bit more, just a Yamaha XJ 600, which was a sports tourer, and that bike also was plenty comfortable on the normal road with the little potholes and everything. And bikes back in the day, I feel like, had more suspension travel and also softer suspension, and it kind of has that feeling of comfort. I now talk to a lot of people who are really amazed by this motorbike and gave the motorbike a lot of praise, and that's their new favorite Royal Enfield. I, however, still need some convincing, and also I want to take the bike off the beaten path with it being a scrambler and kind of market it towards all that, and with the Interceptor already being a really potent platform for a scrambler. So let's see how that does. It's a bit swimmy. Doesn't like the deep sand, but you can stand up on it well. And one thing that's really nice is that the bike comes from factory with an up-switchable ABS. And the 19-inch front wheel does a lot better job at keeping you in line and not slipping away. As you just saw with me getting sideways, that's a lot more possible to steer with the rear wheel.
The suspension was a bit uncomfortable for riding off the beaten path. However, I still had to run some errands in the city and the bike performed great here, and the suspension did a really good performance on cobblestone streets and made running errands just a blast. However, the Bear 650 is not just practical, it's also fun. So we're now here at one of my favorite spots from when I was a kid and a teenager, a BMX track that was maintained by the children in the area. And yeah, I used to be one of them. And back then it was already tough and we were getting less and less. And now it's getting overgrown and no one is here anymore. And all the like gnarly jumps are gone and it's just what is left of it. However, we got to ride the Bear 650 over it, and that worked quite well. The front wheel does a good job, and the brake over angle when going over a mountain also works without touching the frame of the motorcycle. And one thing that I really like about the Bear 650 from now, my first impression of actually riding it, is the size of it. Like, the size feels really good of it. When you sit on top of it, when you ride it, you feel like you sit on a proper motorbike. And that really comes from the bigger tires, the bigger wheels, the higher suspension. It gives the bike a bit more presence. And that's something that I really appreciate. And it works well with the rest of the styling, with the blacked out engine, the exhaust. Honestly, now having the bike here, I'm more of a fan of the exhaust than I would have anticipated, and the way the rear suspension looks. It's really cool. One thing that, however, is a bit odd, it's a Scrambler, and the bike came without a bash plate. And Royal Enfield produces a bash plate, and this one doesn't have it. I'm like, why? Because like the front wheel, it's not just about like hitting something. It's a like when the front wheel kicks up some rocks and throws them against to the oil filter. That's not nice. I know how that looks from my Yamaha XJ. And yeah, however, one positive thing where this bike definitely has the upper hand over the Interceptor, this bike comes from factory with a USB port, which makes me really happy because those things are just needed. You need them on a bike. It's kind of the first modification, and it's really cool that this one comes with that, because putting like a USB port in there that's like connected to the ignition so it doesn't drain the battery, if you do it yourself, I did it on my first motorbike myself, I maybe created somewhat of a fire risk, to be honest, and that can be tough for someone getting into motorcycles, and doing it like right here with the cables and everything right where the tank is difficult for someone who's just starting out. So I'm really happy that it comes with an electrical socket. With now having summed up my first impression, I really want to see what the Bear 650 is about and where its limits are, and see how it is like when you really go on tour with it. And I will be doing a lot with this motorcycle, so let's prepare this motorbike to be taken on the open road and put some parts from the Interceptor on it. So let's get back to the garage to put the luggage system of my Interceptor over to the Bear 650 to get the bike touring ready, and that will also include a motorcycle surf trip, because I want to put the Bear 650 through the same pace as my Interceptor. And on Thursday you'll be seeing how I put the surf rack into the Bear 650. I hope you guys like this video. Definitely like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.